Hello there. I'm Ewing Llama, and I am going to be your host for this episode, which is episode 6, by the way, of the Full Tilt podcast. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. So, real quick before we get started, I just want to say that I do have my mic in a new position, mainly just to kind of get it out of the way of myself. So things might sound a little different. Hopefully, it's not too bad. I don't know. I guess time will tell. But anyway. So, it's been a little while since I've sat down and had a conversation with you guys. And today, I want to sit down and talk about probably the most important piece of information that has been given to us since the last time I've talked to you guys in the gaming world, at least to me, which is Counter-Strike. So, as you guys know, those of you that know me, Counter-Strike Global Offensive was something that I always wanted to build my content career around, right? Ever since I got the idea of wanting to be like a live streamer, for a long time, even before that, I kind of wanted to make YouTube videos, and I did a little bit here and there, but obviously the quality, just was nothing up to what it should have been to be what most people would consider a successful content creator. So, around 2014, I would say the very beginning, maybe late 2013, I started watching some content on Twitch, and by the way, that's going to be a whole nother podcast topic with everything that's going on with Twitch. But anyway, so today we're going to talk about Counter-Strike, but I remember watching a few people playing Counter-Strike, and I was like, man, this game is so awesome. Like, it just looked fun. And I even remember, like, noticing the animations of everything, every time you pull out your gun, you re-rack it and all that. I remember just seeing stuff like that, and one of the guys I watched had a karambit at the time, and then there was the unsheathing animation, and then it makes that shink sound every single time that you do it. And I'm like, man, this game looks awesome. I think I would just have an absolute blast with it. So, kind of from there, I just wanted to... I knew that was going to be the game for me. You fast forward, I build my first PC, I get started streaming at the very end of 2014. My PC isn't quite done yet, but I still know that Counter-Strike is like the thing that I want to do. So a couple months later, around March 2015, I get started streaming Counter-Strike. I was terrible. It was bad, right? An absolute noob at the game. I wasn't a PC gamer really up until that point. I was a console gamer, right? I come from playing a lot of Halo, a lot of Halo. I was even part of an entire gaming community of several hundred people. We used to do stuff almost every single day of the week. I played Call of Duty with some homies a lot, and come home from school, play some, zombies. So the whole PC thing was new to me. Obviously, Counter-Strike is extremely different from any other FPS, really. Obviously, we've been introduced to Valorant in the last few years, so Valorant is definitely the closest thing to Counter-Strike, but Counter-Strike is just this whole... the skill level of the game is just completely different to any other FPS that's out there. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love it so much, and I was kind of almost spoiled by it being really my first competitive shooter that I played on PC, because everything that I've played ever since then, it doesn't feel the same, Like, like I said, I came from playing a lot of Halo, playing a lot of Call of Duty, but nothing fills the void that is Counter-Strike. Like, if I were to ever stop playing Counter-Strike and then go to something else, I just can't, right? So anyway, I can keep rambling on about that, but like, I played Counter-Strike very consistently over the years. I started Silver 2 way back in 2015. What's happening? Things are breaking. Anyway, sorry about that. So I started playing way back in 2015, and I still play now in 2023, right? I have achieved the highest rank I've ever been in Counter-Strike. I definitely think I have a bigger understanding of the game now than I ever have. There's just so many layers to the game. It's so there's just no game like it. It's so simple on the surface level, Anybody can understand what is happening and what is going on if you are watching it for the first time, right? Whether it's at a silver elo that you're watching or you're watching the pros play, nobody really has to describe to you what is going on. It's a shooter, it's a first-person shooter, so you know you are looking through the eyes of your character. You have one objective. If you're playing the bomb scenario, right, you have one objective. You either stop the bomb from going off or your goal is to make the bomb go off, right? And it's as simple as that. If the enemy's in your way, you go through them. That's it, right? Obviously, from a strategic standpoint, there is way, way, way more to the game than just that. And it feels like as time goes on and every year happens, we learn more and more and more about some of the things that you can do in the game, right? It always feels like some pro or something like that is coming up with something new every single time, you know, an event comes up, you see something new or whatever. However, recently we just had our very, very last CSGO major, which is crazy to think about, right? It's just one of those games that you just almost feel like is never gonna go away. You know, it's just because it's been around for it's been what, 12 years or so, something like that. So since the last time I talked to you guys, Counter-Strike 2 was announced, and that was absolutely massive, right? So some of the things, you know, they showed us was the new smokes and the volumetric system with the smokes and how it interacts with the environment. So the way that smokes work in CSGO, if you don't know, is think of like an oval, right? You just take an oval and you place it where the smoke pops. Boom. That's basically what a smoke is in Counter-Strike. It doesn't care about walls. It doesn't care about objects in the way. It doesn't care about lighting. It is that thing. It is just a gray oval, right? Obviously, it has smoky effects to it and stuff like that, but that's all it is. The way that they work in CS2 now is that it's going to interact with the environment. So when you throw a smoke inside of like a tunnel, it explodes, and it's going to respect that there is walls on each side of it, right? And then that there's a floor below it. So it is going to expand outward and upward. Outward as in the ways that, you know, the two entrances to the tunnel, and then it'll fill up towards the ceiling of the tunnel, right? If it lands in like a crack of two boxes, it's gonna explode, and then it's gonna shoot up and outward and around the boxes. It is not going to just explode in that static oval shape anymore, right? It is going to fill the area that, you know, it lands at, right? And they added a feature where you can shoot at the smoke and it will create gaps in the smoke, right? So as the bullets pass through the smoke, it'll create little openings in it that will then close back up, right? Also with that, if you throw an explosive into it, so a frag grenade, the frag, when it explodes outward, the shock of it literally creates an opening in the smoke that will fill back in if there's time left of the smoke, right? So obviously I think the times are a little different with smoke durations and stuff like that, but basically that just, it adds a new dynamic to the game, a new system to the game, where you have to be careful of, you know, having setups for that. If somebody smokes off something, the enemy might have a lineup with a frag grenade where it hits the smoke, boom, so like maybe an op can peek, boom, catch it, you know, sleeping or catching you moving around, repositioning behind the smoke or whatever. And another thing is that the traditional one-ways that you see in CS, because of the oval shape of the smoke, you can play around the edges based on, you know, trajectory, like your perspective, like if you're looking down or you're even looking up at a smoke or whatever. There are certain ways to play around smokes, and that's how you get one ways in CSGO, because it doesn't respect the environment, right? So you can pitch a smoke anywhere and it creates the same effect. In CS2 it's not going to be like that anymore. So those old school one ways, so like I think of one like Overpass, the lower tons, the connector tunnel, there's a one way for that. I mean, there's one ways everywhere. Mirage is filled with one ways all over the place, right? I just think about those one ways are going to be gone now. Now that's not to say that there still can't be one ways due to perspective, I guess. So like a conventional one way where like if a smoke blooms and you're like standing up on an elevated area and you're looking over the smoke, somebody might not be able to necessarily see you from below if they're looking up, just because of that's how perspective works a little bit. So obviously something like that is going to still work. However, we're not going to be having that old style of one ways, which honestly, like, thank God, because that crap was so obnoxious. I absolutely hated that. Just it was just, I don't know, man, it was so annoying dealing with. Like I mentioned, Mirage was one of those maps that I felt like all the time it got boring to me. Like I used to say all the time, I'm like, man, I absolutely love Mirage, and everybody in the community was like, nah, Mirage is terrible. It's an absolute god-awful map. We need to get rid of it. I'm like, get rid of Mirage? Like, Mirage is such an awesome map. Why would we want to get rid of that? The more that I played it, maybe I understood it more. I don't know. People didn't really ever elaborate or explain on that. But for me, I got tired of dealing with one-ways, right? It just felt like everywhere you went, it was one-way city. If you went there's one-ways on stairs, there's one way on side of stairs, there's a one way at ticket booth, there's multiple one ways at ticket booth actually. There's a one way that CTs can create on default box. There's a one way for T's coming out of palace. There's a one way for T's to kind of counteract the CT one way, right? It's kind of like the same concept, but you throw it coming out of T ramp, and then you can get up on the little box at the platform and you can peek over the top of it. That creates a one way. And that's just on one side of the map, you know what I mean? Like, there are one-ways all over that map. And for me, I just got tired of dealing with that all the time, because it was just like, and you knew it was coming. If you saw it, you know, you could maybe try to fight against it, but there's no guarantee, you know, and it gives you the advantage, especially when you're playing at a high elo, where everybody aims really well. It's over, dude. Like, it's all about, you know, fractions of a second and getting that slight upper hand on somebody, and it just got so obnoxious. So that was one thing that I was super excited about with hearing the new smoke system. I was like, finally, we're done with those stupid one ways now. Like, Mirage can actually be played well. Like, I hope that the CT smokes for T side on A site, finally you can smoke it all off, because you had to sacrifice one side or the other. You either smoke too far left, create a gap on the right side. You smoke too far right, it creates a one way where the enemy can jump up on the CT box, the ticket box there. Hopefully that'll be, you know, one smoke will cover that whole area. Now the cross, the side stairs, the jungle connector like smoke thing there, you need two smokes to completely cover that, but you never throw two smokes because it's just a waste of a second smoke. So you have to either give up one side or the other. You have to have a gap towards the bench or a gap towards the stair or palm or whatever you want to call that bench area. So now hopefully a smoke will fill in that whole area, because the smokes are a little bit wider now. But there's so many spots that I just think of like that I'm like, man, the new smokes are going to be awesome. I can't wait. Another thing that they talked about was the tick rate system. And I know that there's been a lot of complaints about like the movement, and they've been working on the movement of the game, and people talk about registrations. There's some people that are just anti CS2, and I'm like, okay, boomer, like you sound like people that are still stuck in 1.6, you know, because they're the OGs out there that are like, 1.6 is better than any other Counter-Strike, and you can't change my mind. It's like, okay, we get it. You're still stuck in time, you know, it's okay. And it's okay to like one better than the other, but like when you literally give up the game just because, I don't know, it seems petty, you know? Sorry if you hear that. It sounds like my PC's trying to take off to outer space right now. It does that sometimes. It's been doing that here recently. I don't know. But we're getting that same thing where people are like, oh, CSGO over CS2 100% of the time, and it's just kind of obnoxious, and like I said, it's very petty, I think. So don't be that guy, you know. Welcome change. I know nobody likes change, but welcome the change. You know, it's nice. We've been dealing with the same game, and they're keeping the integrity of the game, which to me was the important thing, because I was scared. I'm like, you know, I really want Source 2 on CS, but I'm scared it's going to change too much of the game, right? That was a big fear of mine. So, with that being said, from what I've seen so far, they're keeping the core aspects of the game together. They've been working on the movement with the tick rate. They've been trying to make it feel as if you're playing CSGO. And I've even heard people say something like, man, all this time and effort just for you to be playing the same exact game again. I'm like, okay, CS2 is not necessarily a new game. It's like an update. Just like Counter-Strike has been Counter-Strike from the start, right? Source 1.6, Go, you know, everything all the way through. It's been the same game. We have given it new titles over the years, but it's the same game. And it's going to continue to be the same game. So, like, CS2 is no different. It's the same thing, right? And anybody that loves Counter-Strike is going to be super excited about CS2. And I mean, I'm sure everybody that's listening right now has seen all the stuff that CS2 has to offer. But the sub-tick system, I think, is going to be super different. I am interested to see if we're going to get, I'm still interested with, like, Faceit, right? Because I think they just announced that the new ESEA season or whatever is going to be held through Faceit or something like that because they've merged or whatever. But I'm interested to see if we're still going to need third-party outlets like that, or if we're going to be seeing teams being able to enter into seasons through the game of Counter-Strike itself. That would be cool. Kind of like how Fortnite does their cup systems and all that. Similar to that, but with Counter-Strike, I think that would be sick. I think to eliminate those third-party systems would be nice if we could get all those features. Because, like, Faceit does a great job. Like, the hub system and all that crap and the leagues and everything, that's fantastic. If we could get them to evolve to work with Faceit and just put that in the game, that would be awesome. That probably won't happen, but that would be awesome. So, anyway, moving on from that, you know, the changes with the maps. Obviously, the maps are going to look bright, new, shiny. One of the things that I've seen a lot of people complain about has been the game looks too bright. Well, honestly, if you look at a lot of the high-level players, they go through their NVIDIA settings or whatever, and they change it, the vibrant, you know, colors and all that. Like, the game is incredibly bright. I haven't ever done anything like that. I have increased the brightness of the game, but I haven't gone through with the colors and changed the vibrance of the game and everything. But, I mean, it really doesn't look too different. Obviously, it's, like, it looks shiny and polished and everything, whereas CSGO still looks very desaturated, right? Like, it's just very gray looking game. It's kind of like with Battlefield 3. Battlefield 3, they just kind of slapped like a blue filter over everything, so you didn't really have any vibrant colors or anything like that, and that's how Go was. CS2, however, you know, like, we've got real lighting due to the new engine and everything, and I think it looks good. It's going to give a lot more advantages to the game. I know one of the things that you had to take advantage of with the settings in Counter-Strike itself, the game itself, was you had to play on high effect details and high shader details. Just high and high. Not medium high, not low high, not low low, not ultra high. You know, it needed to be high and high on those two settings. And that was to allow you to see when somebody threw a Molotov in your face or something like that, or there was a Molotov burning somewhere and you could peek behind it and see pretty clearly over the top of it. Now, if you changed any of those settings, some more dramatic than others, you would have this giant smoke cloud, right? I'm hoping that with these changes that we're not going to be having that anymore. Speaking of changes, though, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was I don't think they've talked about anything extra with this, but it was one of the settings where you can bind multiple things to a single key, right? So, like, for me, I'm trying to think if I even really have anything. So, like, jump is spacebar and scroll wheel down, right? I don't particularly use my spacebar all that often. It's mainly my scroll wheel. But another one is shift for walking, right? Which pretty much everybody does. And it also clears decals. So the bullet holes, blood splatters on the walls, things like that. It clears all that stuff up. Makes the map look like it's, you know, at the start of a round. And for me, it helps me see sometimes because maybe there's blood splatter on a wall, makes it darker, and an enemy will peek into that same spot that there was already like a fight, and you can't really see them, you know, clearly, or maybe you don't even recognize that they're even standing there at all. That sort of thing. Prevents stuff like that from happening, so that's why I have that. But you're not, apparently you're not able to do that anymore. and I think that could be a big thing, especially like taking the game mechanics aside and talking about like observers is a good example of that, because they have so many keybinds for so many different static cameras, moving cameras, all these cinematic things that they have to do, switching players, all that crap. They have so many things that they have to do all the time. Double binding keys is kind of wild to take away, and I don't know why they would do that. I don't know the limitations of Source 2. I mean, they probably don't even know the limitations just yet. We definitely, as consumers, don't know the limitations yet. So that was something that I thought was very interesting. Obviously, we can talk about all the small details and spend hours and hours talking about everything, but I just thought that that was one of those things that was kind of interesting to me, and something that's definitely going to affect me. We still don't have left-handed view models yet. That's kind of wild. Here recently I've been playing right-handed just in preparation for getting access to CS2. Whenever that may be. Also, heck you, if you have access to CS2, I hope you can't sleep tonight. I hope your brain doesn't turn off so you can go to sleep. Okay. Also, heck you guys that have diamond Paris Major coins. You guys suck and you smell weird. But anyway, so those are a couple of the things that I just wanted to talk about. The major, like, oh hey, CS2, you know, announcement stuff. A lot of big stuff with that, right? So maps that they've gone over so far, they added Dust 2, right, as their initial map. And we have been so so just kind of talking about access, we have been so I'm trying to think of the term. We've been so conditioned to have, you know, beta or whatever, early access, where like pretty much everybody, you can just buy your way into them. Like, they're not true betas anymore. However, Valve has done a very good job with their limited test beta with limiting the amount of people that get into it, you know? And it's just kind of random, and I like that, and I feel like a lot of people are upset by it because they didn't realize that that's what a beta is. We have forgotten what an actual beta is. So shout out to them for sticking with that. I like that system. I think it's good. Because like people would be like, because as a person, you try to add reasoning behind everything. And it just kind of was wild to me when you see people just complaining so much about it, where they're like, oh, I have 7,000 hours and I'm level 10 face it and I'm a perfect candidate. It's like, okay, well, they want everybody to test it, right? They want little Timmy, who has 2 hours in CSGO, to try it out and get their hands on the new game. And then they want Giga Chad, you know, whatever, 69420 Blaze It. They want him to test it out with his 10,000 hours and, you know, all that. Like, they want every part of the spectrum to participate. They want everybody, right? So, like, obviously it's frustrating to not get in, but I mean, in reality, you're just testing the game. There are no ranks. There is none of that stuff. You're literally just going in and just playing matchmaking on Dust 2 all day long, right? That's all it is. Obviously, you can take advantage of that if you're trying to, you know, make something out of it or whatever, but, like, I would love to make content on CS2 already, but I can't. And that's okay. You know, I am preparing for when I get access to do so. But they started with Dust 2, and then they moved on to Mirage, and it's a good thing that they were doing that, because some people, like JoJo, oh my god, he was finding some crazy stuff, like on Mirage. There's no skyboxes anymore. Like, you can throw utility just all the way across the map as far as you want, right? Which is going to be really nice, and it's nice for observers too, because you can pan way up above the map and you can see the whole map. There is none of that weird when you go too far one way, it creates this weird wall or whatever, you know. Like, if you've no-clipped around a map before, you know what I'm talking about. So, there is none of that anymore, but what I did notice is that they would counter-strafe on certain spots on the map, and they'd be able to just, like, shoot up on top of, like, a skybox and walk around the top of the map or whatever. Like, that's a big thing, and that's why they were doing these beta tests, is to iron out stupid little crap like that. And so, that was fantastic. I'm glad that they're doing that. So, they've done Dust 2 so far. There's been a lot of work that they've done on that map in terms of getting it ready for live play. They've done Mirage. They are now on Nuke and on Office. So we've got a hostage map coming back. We've got Nuke. We've got Mirage Dust 2. I think Ancient's already been confirmed. We have seen screenshots of Inferno, and I've noticed several changes with Inferno, but I would assume they said that the game's going to come out summer. We are now officially in summer, but I think it's going to be towards the end of summer when it comes out. If they don't delay it, which I don't see Valve delaying it, but you never know. They might need more time. Take as much time as you need. We've waited 12 years. It's fine. Just take as much time as you need for that game to to come out and be ready. But I'm just so interested in how players are going to have to switch it up and change. You know, like it's just so exciting to me. I just think about all the strategies and everything behind the game and how much it's going to change. Like boosting over certain smokes isn't going to exist anymore. There's just so much outplay potential now, but I do think about a map like Inferno. Inferno, like 90% of the utility used the skyboxes. They're not there anymore. So one of the things that I talked about with that map, I'm a strategist, I'm a utility guy, right? I'm a support player in IGL. That is what I do. I was thinking, well, Inferno is a bunch of tight, narrow alleyways, right? That's pretty much the whole map, is you're just moving through like a little like city, a neighborhood, right, in Italy. And is it Italy? I think it is Italy. Anyway, I was like, they're gonna have to give us like overhangs. They're gonna have to give us parts of the map that we can bounce utility off to simulate and mimic having the skybox, because we essentially threw utility and it bounced off of nothing, right? That's literally what we used to do, or it still do for those of us that still play. But yeah, it just was crazy to me that, you know, they're essentially taking that away from us. But in the screenshots I did see on B's site some like construction scaffolding that we're able to bounce our utility off of. I looked at that and I'm like, this seems like that's what they're doing, what I was talking about they were going to need to do, because otherwise how are people going to, like, smokes? We could create lineups where we teardrop smokes in on places, like we can do that, but you can't with Molotovs unless somebody did bring this up. They were like, unless they it lengthened the duration of the explosion of a Molotov. I'm like, yeah, but they'd really have to lengthen the explosion time, right? Because you're talking like 7-8 seconds of airtime before it lands where it's supposed to. And Molotovs and incendiaries aren't even close to that, right? Like, I think they're like 2 seconds at most before they blow up in the air. I'm like, you're talking quadruple the time, you know, needed for some of these spots. So we haven't seen the whole map, so I don't know how the rest of the map's going to play out. Time will tell. We'll get more hands-on with that, but I would assume that we've still got 2 more maps to go, at least. 3, sorry. I think we're going to have Italy. I think we've still got Inferno to test, and probably Ancient, and maybe Anubis. So I would say probably 4 more maps to test. I'm hoping that they'll throw a curveball at us and like remove like Vertigo and then add in a new map there. I think that would be cool. I could see them adding a completely new map. But anyway, like I said, I could sit and ramble and talk about all things Counter-Strike. So we gotta keep the pace going here. We gotta keep moving on. So one of the things that they added into the game, which the loadout system already existed in the game, I just don't think people really realized that it was called a loadout system. You could go in, that's where you switched like the R8 versus the Deagle, the MP7 or the MP5, right? That's where you switched out that stuff, the A4 or the A1S. Now you can do that, but so it's a different layout. It looks different. You have your starting pistol, right? Which T side doesn't matter. You have one. You have the Glock. CT side, you have the USP and the P2000 still. So you pick one of those, right? That's your starting pistol. Then you have your pistol category. You have 4 additional slots. You have the P250. You have the 5.7/Tech-9. That's the same slot, so that's 2. You have the CZ, which is the alternative to the 5.7 Tech-9. That's 3. You have the Deagle, and then you have the R8, right? So that's 5 extra pistols that you have right there. And you have the dual Berettas. Let's not forget the dual Berettas. So that's 6, right? You can only pick 4 of those. Any 4 of those that you want. So you could go dual Beretta, DZ, Deagle, R8 if you wanted to. The R8 is underrated gun. It does like 81 damage to an armored target. One shot, 81 damage. It doesn't have a lot of bullets in it, but it does 81 damage. And then obviously there's the pull time, the trigger pull time on it. So it's got its drawbacks. It's not as good as the Deagle. Everybody, I think, can agree on that. However, it is not a bad pistol. So now you can actually have that legitimately in your loadout. So that's new, right? That's a new setup. And then on top of that, we have like medium tier weapons or something like that. So your mid tier weapons. So basically, it's going to be like your SMGs, your shotguns, your LMGs. So your M249 and Negev. I think those two are in that category. And then you've got all of your SMGs and all of your shotguns. And you have, instead of 4, you have 5 slots. Well, I guess the pistols technically have 5 slots because you have to have your starter. But you have 5 interchangeable slots for all that. So like for me, it would be like the MP9 MAC-10. It would be the UMP. Those would probably be realistically like my 2 SMG slots, because like what else are you really using? Like I could see maybe somebody taking advantage of the MP5 because of the silencer. But nobody really uses the MP7. Nobody really uses the Bison. Nobody really uses the P90. The P90 is kind of like a trolley type of weapon. And then shotguns, it's like the Mag-7. You either use the Mag-7 or you use the Nova, one or the other. You usually don't use both. And then you use the XM. And then like the Negev, you know, like nobody uses the M249, nobody uses the MP7, nobody uses the Bison, you know, like there are certain guns that just don't even get used in general. So it's like there's definitely room for maneuver there. And then the rifles. I think the rifles thing is going to be interesting because T-side, you're not really going to sacrifice any rifles whatsoever. You got 5 rifle slots, right? Scout Op are definitely going to be 2 that everybody's going to have. You're going to have your main rifle, which is the AK, and then you're going to have your Galil. So, like, are you going to have an auto, or are you going to have the Krieg? You know, like, which one? And nobody uses either one of those, so it's like, okay, you know, just flip a coin and it's in your loadout, you know? CT side, a little different, though, because you have 2 main rifles. You have your FAMAS, you have your A1S, and your A4. I could see a lot of people running those 3 with the Scout Op. I could see that being like the traditional thing. However, the AUG is not as bad as the Krieg. The AUG is very usable. So you could go with like 3 scoped weapons. You could go Scout, Op, AUG, and then you could run like dual M4s. Like I could see a lot of different setups in the CT side of things. So a lot of people have been speculating, are we going to get new guns? I could definitely see that happening. I could definitely see new guns. Like, not to compare to Valorant, but Valorant has a semi-automatic sightless gun. There are no sightless guns in Valorant, but like you do have like a sightless, scopeless, like semi-automatic weapon, the Guardian. I could see CS adding something like that. We already have like our auto snipers, but they've got a scope to them. I could see them adding a new scopeless semi-automatic to the T side and maybe even the CT side. Like I could definitely see them adding. There's places for new guns. I've seen mixed emotions over the loadout. I've seen both good and bad. I've seen people be like, oh yeah, that's amazing. And then I've seen people say, this is stupid. I hate this. Why did they have to change it? You know, that sort of thing. So anyway, so there's that. Also, RIP to the buy wheel. We all have grown accustomed to the buy wheel. Me personally, over the last few years, I have buy binds. I literally use my number pad just to buy everything. I've got a few extra stragglers on my F keys. But sadly, the scroll wheel is no longer with us. They have gone with a more sleek and modern approach to it. The wheel, a lot of people don't know this, but the wheel was designed for console purposes. You don't have as many inputs on a controller, right? So you need the wheel so you can, with your analog stick, you select a section. You click the action button or your interaction button, whatever, and then it opens up a new wheel that you can then cycle through and select what you need. So that was the reason that we had a buy wheel for so long. They just never upgraded it. Now they have. And I like it. It's very similar to the one that we have in Valorant. It just, everything is right there in front of you. You shouldn't really be misbuying anymore. That's not really a thing. I believe you can buy back now or sell back. So if you miss buy, or if you're somebody like me that as soon as you come into spawn, you're buying your, your armor, your weapons, your util, all bang, 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 bang in like half a second. And if somebody hasn't told you that they're going to drop you or whatever, you've already bought, and they're like, well, I was going to drop you, but now I'm not going to, now there's no reason to because you bought already. Now you can sell back, and then, it allows for, it's kind of just like a busy work sort of deal. So I kind of like the idea of it. Some extremists are kind of like, oh, but it's making the game easier and more noob friendly. It's like, okay, if that makes the game easier and more noob friendly, then by all means, let's make the game easier and more noob friendly. Because like realistically, like this is not a it's not a bad change. It's not a bad update. Like it's good for the player base. Like it's a good thing to have. And also, they have changed the HUD color of it to match what your HUD color is. So if you're like me and you run like a white HP bar and like your status bar is white, the layout will be white, right? If you run green, it'll be green. If you run red, it'll be red. If you run orange, it'll be orange. I think that's super cool, and it looks nice, very sleek. Something that I think is a nice change. Personally, though, I don't care as long as I can still have buy-binds and I don't have to look at it. It doesn't matter to me. It's literally irrelevant. But no more misbuying anymore, so that's nice. It's gonna be weird, just because we've been so used to it for so long. And then another feature that nobody talked about that I thought was really cool with it was that, so if you play Counter-Strike, you know that everybody is designated a color at the start of a game. Every single player on your team. There's a little dot. You show up on the minimap as that dot. When you talk, next to your little picture is the dot. All that stuff, right? So colors are associated with each player. Now, when you open up the buy menu, you can see it'll highlight underneath everything, literally everything, the diffuse kit, the armor, body armor or head armor, the weapons, the utility, everything, all of it will have the player's color underneath it if they have it in their inventory. So if you buy a frag grenade and you're orange, an orange dot will be underneath there. If you have full armor, it'll be underneath the full armor category. If you have M4, it'll be underneath the M4, right? It'll be underneath all of those. So if you're looking, you can just kind of see what everybody on your team has right there in the buy menu. I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool little feature. It's the tiny things that I think that matter the most, and literally nobody's even talking about it. And I thought that was crazy. But a lot of changes have happened. A lot of people were complaining about the movement and everything, and they've been working on making it similar. And from what I see, they showed a side-by-side video of CS2 movement, CSGO movement, and they look almost identical. Obviously, some things are going to be a little different because we've got the tick rate, the sub-tick system and all that. So, I mean, there's a lot that's going on with Counter-Strike, and they're working hard, and they're working with the community. Like literally the HUD thing for the buy menu, the color change for that, one of the things it didn't change colors, and people wanted it to change colors. They were like, it would be amazing if we could set a custom color for it, or if it matched our HUD or whatever. So they were like, that's a good idea, we like that, and we can do that, so we're gonna do that for you. I thought that was crazy. Like, usually Valve's not super transparent about that stuff. Of course, we haven't really seen Valve actively working on a game, like really, really working on a new project that the community is so like in with in so long. So like this is new, right? And a lot of people, Valve doesn't really talk too much about to the community. So it's nice to see that, and that means that the priorities are in the right spot, in my opinion. Whenever a company or a development team or whatever is hands-on with the community and you're getting straight feedback and everything, and you're accepting the feedback and you're like, okay, you guys didn't like this, so we're tweaking this. Oh, you guys thought that we could make this better and we were capable of doing so we're going to do it. Fantastic. I love that kind of interaction and that kind of engagement with a development team and a community alike. Like if the community is open to that and the development team is open to receiving that, it makes for wonderful changes in games. Now, there's been so much that's been going on with Counter-Strike that I've probably forgotten some stuff, so I might be editing this and look back at it and be like, oh yeah, I definitely should have talked more about that. You know, maybe we can touch on it in another episode. And obviously, we're going to be seeing more that Counter-Strike is going to be offering. But I am super excited to get my hands on for the first time. You guys are going to be seeing content on it whenever CS2, you know, either gets fully released or I get access to it. Either way, still, heck you if you have access to CS2. I hope you're having an amazing time with it. Let me know what you guys are excited about with CS2, what you guys aren't excited about for CS2. I want left-handed view models, man. Before I wrap up this episode, though, I do remember that they added animations. So Zeus skins have been memed for a long time, right? Like, oh, when are we getting Zeus skins? So you can inspect the Zeus now in CS2. So it's pretty much guaranteed that the Zeus is going to have a skin. But what's interesting is they've recently added inspecting, and there's animations for each of the individual pieces of utility. All of them have a unique inspect to them. Frag grenade, flashbang, decoy, Molotov incendiary, you know, all of them. They all have their own unique thing. And I had people, you know, saying to me like, oh, we're going to get nade skins. We're going to get nade skins. And I'm like, are we though? Like, are we really going to get nade skins? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. Do you think we're going to get nade skins? I personally don't think so. And the reason why I think about this is because the smoke canisters, right? The smoke canisters literally have a ribbon on them that displays what color the smoke is going to bloom, which I don't think I actually talked about that before. So if the CT buys a smoke, it's got a little blue ribbon on it, or a stripe on it, whatever you want to call it. And if the T's have one, it's more of a like an orange color. So when a CT throws that, or whoever, it doesn't matter who throws it, it's whoever bought it, right? So if a T kills a CT and picks up their smoke, it's going to bloom in that gray blue color still because it was a CT smoke that you picked up, right? So I'm like, unless they can come up with some skin designs for that and it doesn't disrupt what color it's going to be or whatever, because obviously there was a purpose behind them adding that feature into the game, you know what I mean? So I feel like if, I don't know, maybe they just get rid of the colored smokes altogether. I don't know. But anyway, it's been a couple days since we've had an update from CS2. So they're probably just working away. I haven't seen anything too crazy about Nuke though. I was seeing a lot of crazy stuff with Mirage, a lot of crazy stuff with Dust 2, and I haven't really seen a lot of crazy stuff that has been going on with Nuke. So who knows? Maybe Nuke is a more polished map, and they were worried that Mirage and Dust 2 weren't going to be as polished. I don't know. I know that they're going to get played a lot more than Nuke does, but maybe these maps, you know, that we're reserving for the later stages of the beta are maps that they're, you know, pretty confident in or something like that. Because like I said, I haven't seen anything crazy game breaking with Nuke just yet. Time will tell though. Anyway, I am super excited about Counter-Strike. I do want to talk about, we're on player break right now, so before we get out of here, I do want to talk about the major, and obviously IEM Dallas happened right after the Paris major. So I do want to talk about that stuff a little bit. And I know some of you guys might not be interested in esports, so I won't keep this segment too long. Shout out to Vitality for winning the final Paris major. And once again, heck you guys that have a diamond coin, because how the heck did you get a diamond coin? I got a gold coin. I almost got the diamond coin, but like, it's crazy how few people have actually gotten a diamond coin. I think I've only seen one firsthand, like in a match. But yeah, that was crazy. That major was phenomenal. I loved watching it, although I'm not the biggest fan of a Blast event, just because I feel like they're more in for promoting Blast versus promoting Counter-Strike. But anyway, that's a rant for another time. But I still enjoyed watching it, and you know, the casting team behind, you know, all of the matches was great. I love it. And a lot of changes happened, man. A lot of changes. Like Dupree getting subbed out is kind of wild, but I mean, it's necessary. I think we've got, what, Flame Z is who replaced him. So Dupree, an absolute legend, the winningest major winner in CSGO history. He is getting replaced by a young, absolute stud, in my opinion. We've had Navi get flipped upside down here in just the last few days. Navi is no longer a Ukrainian team. They are now a European team. They added Alexi B and Emma onto their team. Two amazing pieces of talent, but I mean, you're getting rid of Electronic and Perfecto. So that's kind of wild. Liquid, the big thing. Liquid having their captain retire, Nitro. So NA's captain, oh captain, my captain, he's gone. Nitro, Elige. Elige is gone off of Liquid. Liquid is now a European team. So, you know, unfortunately, you know, with Liquid being NA's team for so long, and NA trying to recapture, you know, 2018 again and trying to find that roster that'll do that. We picked up OC and Yakendar. Yakendar, obviously Latvian, but Yakendar was doing, you know, things that a lot of people were like, oh, it's like Stewie all over again, you know. Yakendar doing phenomenal work. And then OC here this year was picking it up, man, on the op and absolutely rocking some socks. Like, OC finally coming into form. And then Liquid dips on NA and goes to EU. Now we don't have Yakendar and OC. I mean, obviously they're still on Liquid, but now they're in a different region. It's like, oh, man, that's kind of wild to see. But now, Elige, I believe, got signed to Complexity. So Complexity actually was in the Paris Major. I don't think they made it out of the group stages, but it was nice to see them performing, and they performed well. But now they're adding a veteran of the game onto their team, and another veteran, I should say. And I'm excited to see. I think Complexity is going to turn into NA's team. Like, that is going to be our team that we're going to have to root for, and I think it's going to be exciting to watch that team and see what can happen with that team. I don't know, man. NA is just in a rough place in terms of esports. But like I said, I don't want to make the segment too long. So anyway, I will let you guys go, and I will bounce out of here. Appreciate you guys listening. If you haven't already and you're listening on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We just created a playlist for the podcast to go in specifically, so it should be a lot easier for you guys to find that now. If you're listening on Spotify, feel free to rate the episode. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about all this Counter-Strike news. And hopefully I'll be seeing you guys and talking to you guys again in the next few weeks. Probably the next 2 weeks, I will probably be talking about all the new games that are going to be coming out. A lot of things I'm super excited to talk about. And if you catch my live streams, you've probably heard me rant and rave about all the new games and crap that I'm looking forward to. But anyway, I just want to say thank you guys so much for taking the time and listen with me. Just do me one favor, stay safe, stay awesome out there, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.